CEOs, Ford genius, babies drive away, all women pursue dad. But call this poor girl on motorcycle mom. Imagine being caught in a whirlwind where nothing goes as planned, where life takes a wild turn, and where even the most unexpected encounters can change everything. That's exactly what happened to Mia, a young woman just trying to live a simple life. Little did she know, a chance encounter with a powerful CEO and his 4 brilliant but troublemaking children would send her life into a tailspin. It all started on a busy city street. Mia, in a hurry to get to work, zipped through the traffics. On her motorcycle, her mind consumed with thoughts of her job, bills, and the normal struggles of everyday life. She wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary until she saw him. There, standing at the edge of a luxury car dealership, was a tall, handsome man who seemed out of place in the ordinary hustle and bustle of the city, dressed in a sharp suit. His features were both intimidating and strikingly handsome, and yet there was something in his eyes that told a different story. His name was Edward Zhang, the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech empire. A man who had everything: wealth, power, success. But still, something was missing. But Mia didn't know that. She was just trying to avoid the crowd when suddenly, the CEO's 4 genius babies ran past her on the sidewalk. They were all under 10, but their intelligence far surpassed most adults. They were quirky, mischievous, and their behavior screamed trouble, but not the kind you'd expect from children. It was more like a force of nature, unpredictable and impossible to control. These children were well known in the business world, almost as much as their father, for their ability to solve complex problems and invent new technologies. They were famous, and yet they were children. As Mia slowed down on her motorcycle, she heard one of them shout, "Mom!" And before she knew it, all 4 of them turned to look at her, their eyes wide with curiosity. The next few seconds felt like an eternity, as Mia stood frozen, unsure of what to do. The children, with their mischievous grins, began to circle her, pointing at her like she was some sort of puzzle they needed to solve. "Are you our mom?" one of them asked, his voice full of innocence and excitement. Mia blinked, completely taken aback by the question. She could feel her heart racing, wondering if she had somehow been mistaken for someone else. The CEO, who had been watching from a distance, walked over to them. His eyes locked on Mia's face. There was a flicker of recognition, or perhaps it was just curiosity, but Mia felt his gaze pierce through her. "Stop teasing her," Edward said to the kids, but his tone was softer than usual, almost as if he had a moment of vulnerability. But it wasn't the kids' antics that caught Mia's attention. It was the way he looked at her. For a brief moment, it felt like the world around them faded away, and there was just her, the CEO, and those strange, genius children. But what happened next would change everything. The kids continued to insist that Mia was their mom, pulling on her sleeve, asking her if she remembered them, and calling her mom in unison. It was innocent, yes, but also surreal. Mia was completely baffled. She tried to laugh it off, saying she wasn't their mother, but they just wouldn't listen. And then, in a stunning moment of clarity, the CEO spoke again. "Could you please stop calling her that?" Edward said, his tone firm but strangely apologetic. Mia turned to him, still confused by the entire situation. "I'm sorry," he continued, "but I think you've misunderstood. My children are special. They see the world differently, and sometimes they latch on to people they think are important to them." Mia wasn't sure if he was explaining something or just apologizing for his children's odd behavior. But she was no longer focused on them. She was focused on him, Edward Zhang, the man who seemed so out of reach, yet so close. The powerful CEO who had 4 genius children that could solve world problems before most of us even realized they existed. And then came the twist. Before Mia could say another word, one of the children stepped up, looked her in the eyes, and said something that shook her to her core. "Why don't you be our mom for real?" The little girl asked, her voice innocent yet oddly persuasive. "Dad needs someone like you." Mia's heart skipped a beat. Was this a joke? Was she being set up for some strange reality show? Or was there something deeper happening here? But before she could answer, the kids turned to their father, who was still standing just a few feet away. Edward raised an eyebrow, his face unreadable. "It's complicated, Mia," he said softly, his voice tinged with something that sounded like regret. "The truth is, my children, they need someone who understands them. Someone who isn't just interested in their father's money or power. Someone who can give them the love they crave. And He trailed off, his voice growing distant. "I'm not sure how to give that to them." Mia didn't know what to say. She had never expected to be thrust into a situation like this. She had her own struggles, her own battles to fight. She wasn't ready to play the role of mom to anyone, let alone 4 genius children. But then, the unexpected happened again. As she turned to leave, she heard one of the children call out her name. "Don't go! You're the one we need. You're our mom now." It felt like a weight had been placed on her shoulders. How could she walk away now? What if, just maybe, these children were the key to unlocking something bigger? What if they were asking her for help in ways she never understood? The CEO's words echoed in her mind. It's complicated, but was it? Or was this exactly what Mia needed? An opportunity to change her life and find a place where she truly belonged. As she walked away, Mia couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to take an unexpected turn. The door was now wide open, and she was faced with a decision that could change everything. Would she step into this complicated world of genius children, a powerful CEO, and a life she never asked for? Or would she turn away and keep chasing her ordinary dreams? The story was only just beginning, and Mia's future hung in the balance. Mia couldn't sleep that night. The events of the day kept replaying in her mind. Edward Young, his 4 brilliant children, their insistence that she was somehow meant to be their mother. She tried to brush it off as some strange coincidence, a mix-up caused by the kids' wild imaginations. But something about it felt different. There was an intensity in their eyes, an urgency in their voices that she couldn't shake. She had never been the center of anyone's world in such a way, and it was unsettling. She thought about her own life, how she'd always been just an ordinary girl, getting by day, never having anyone rely on her. Her parents had long since passed, and she had grown up in foster care. She had always dreamed of a different life, one where she could be part of a family, feel needed, but those dreams had always seemed so distant, like stars that you could never quite reach. Until today, Mia's phone buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from an unknown number. Curiosity piqued, she opened it. "Meet me tomorrow at 10 a.m. I have something important to discuss. Edward Zhang." Her heart skipped. She hadn't heard from him since their brief encounter, and now here he was, reaching out again. Part of her wanted to ignore the message, chalk it up to another weird encounter that was best left behind. But deep down, she knew she couldn't walk away. There was too much at stake, too many questions swirling in her mind. The next morning, Mia put on a simple outfit, something comfortable for the meeting. She didn't know what to expect, but she knew one thing. Things weren't going to be the same after today. She couldn't help but wonder what Edward Zhang wanted from her. He was a man of power, surrounded by wealth and influence. What could a person like him possibly see in someone like her? When she arrived at the location he had specified, a sleek modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, her nerves grew stronger. She was escorted into a private office, where Edward was waiting, sitting behind a large desk, looking as composed as ever. His expression was unreadable, but there was something different about him today, something more. "Desperate, Mia," he greeted her, his voice smooth but tinged with exhaustion. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," she replied, trying to keep her composure, though she felt her heart racing. "You said you had something important to discuss." Edward leaned forward slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. "You must have a lot of questions, and I'm not sure where to start, but I'll try to explain." Mia nodded, urging him to continue. She was all ears now. He let out a sigh, rubbing his temples, as if the weight of what he was about to say was too much to bear. "My children. They're not like other kids. They're brilliant, yes, but they're also a little unpredictable, and I'm afraid their behavior is only the surface of a much deeper problem." Mia raised an eyebrow, still not fully understanding. "What kind of problem?" Edward stood up, pacing across the room, his hands clasped behind his back. "I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, Mia. I've focused too much on my work, on building an empire, and in doing so, I neglected my family, especially my children. They've never had the kind of nurturing and care they need. I wasn't there for them when they needed me the most. And now I'm afraid it's too late." Mia's mind raced. "What do you mean it's too late? What are you asking of me?" Edward turned to face her, his expression pained. "I need you to help me. I need you to help me fix this. Help me fix them. You saw what happened yesterday, right? How they latched onto you. How they called you Mom. They see something in you, Mia. Something I can't give them. And I'm afraid if we don't do something now, they'll get worse. I don't want to lose them. I don't want them to end up like me. Successful, but completely alone." Mia stood frozen, her mind swirling. She had always dreamed of being needed, of making a difference in someone's life. But this was beyond anything she could have imagined. Was she really ready to step into this world? Could she really be the person these kids needed? "I can't. I don't even know how to begin," Mia admitted, her voice shaking with uncertainty. I'm not qualified for this. I don't have any experience with kids like them." Edward interrupted her, stepping closer. "You're perfect for them, Mia. You're kind, you're strong, and most importantly, you're real. You won't be swayed by money or status. They need that. They need someone who doesn't want anything from them, but to see them happy." Mia's heart thudded in her chest. She wanted to say no, to walk away from this madness and return to her normal life, but something inside her stopped her. Could she really leave these children to navigate the world without a mother figure? Could she turn her back on them? "Please," Edward continued, his voice almost pleading now. "I've tried everything I can think of, and nothing works. I don't want to lose my children, Mia. I can't do this alone." The words hung in the air, heavy with desperation. Mia felt her resolve cracking. She had always wanted a family, but this was something entirely different. "I need time to think," Mia finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. She needed to process all of this, needed to figure out if this was something she could actually do. Edward nodded, his eyes softening for the first time. "Of course. Take all the time you need. But remember, they need you, and so do I." As Mia left the office, her mind was a whirlwind. She felt trapped between two worlds. The life she had always known, and this unexpected, complicated reality that was now calling her name. She knew she couldn't ignore it anymore. The tension was building. And with every step she took, the weight of the decision grew heavier. Could she really be the answer to these children's prayers? Or was she about to make the biggest mistake of her life? As the door to the building closed behind her, Mia knew that nothing would ever be the same again. As Mia stepped into the cool evening air, the weight of her decision pressed down on her chest. The city around her seemed unchanged. Oblivious to the storm brewing inside her, she had always prided herself on making decisions with a clear head. But this felt different. There was no going back. Edward Young's words echoed in her mind. They need you. But did they really? Or was he simply trying to manipulate her into taking on a responsibility that wasn't hers to bear? That night, she barely slept, tossing and turning, her mind racing in 1,000 directions. She couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to take a turn she wasn't ready for. What would happen if she said yes? Would she become the mom these kids believed they needed? And what about Edward? Could she trust him? His desperation seemed genuine. But was there something he wasn't telling her? The next morning, Mia found herself standing at the gates of the Jung mansion once again, her heart pounding in her chest. As she rang the doorbell, the immense weight of her decision felt almost suffocating. The door swung open, and Edward appeared, his expression a mix of hope and anticipation. "I've thought about it," Mia said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "And I'm willing to help, but only on my terms. I'm not some quick fix for your problems, Edward." Edward's face softened, a look of relief washing over him. "You don't know how much this means to me, Mia. To all of us." She nodded, but the feeling of uncertainty didn't completely leave her. It wasn't just about being there for the kids. It was about diving into a world she didn't understand. A world of wealth, power, and expectations. But it was also a chance to do something that mattered. To finally step into the role she had always dreamed of. The moment was now, and she had to commit. Over the next few weeks, Mia spent more and more time with the Jung children. Their genius minds were as intimidating as they were fascinating. Each child had their own quirks, their own way of seeing the world, and Mia quickly realized how deeply they were all starved for attention. It wasn't just about the lavish lifestyle they led, or the endless stream of tutors and private lessons. It was about love, the kind that had been missing in their lives. As days passed, Mia saw the impact she was having. The children began to open up to her in ways they never had with anyone else. Their walls came down, piece by piece, as she gave them the affection and guidance they had long been deprived of. It wasn't easy. There were moments of tension, moments where they pushed her away, testing her resolve. But Mia knew this was what she was meant to do. One afternoon, as Mia was sitting with the children in the spacious living room, Edward entered with an expression of concern. "Mia, there's something I need to tell you," he said, his voice low. She looked up from the book she was reading, to see him standing there, hesitant. "What is it?" He paused for a moment, then took a deep breath. "The situation with my company. Things are more complicated than I've let on. There's a lot at stake, Mia. I don't want to drag you into this, but the truth is, I've been facing pressure from some powerful people. They want control of my business, and they'll do anything to get it. I can't lose my children, Mia. I can't." Mia's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean? What's going on?" Edward took a seat beside her, his face weary. "There are people who want to use my children, manipulate them for their own gain. I've been so focused on keeping the business afloat that I didn't see what was happening in my own home. But now that you're here, I need you more than ever. I need you to protect them, Mia. They look to you now, and I I can't do this alone. Mia sat in stunned silence, her mind racing. The stakes had just been raised higher than she could have imagined. This wasn't just about caring for 4 kids. It was about protecting them from forces that were far beyond her understanding. But then, as if on cue, the children entered the room. Their faces lit up with excitement. "Mom!" They all shouted in unison, their voices ringing with joy. They didn't fully understand the gravity of the situation, but they knew one thing: Mia was their anchor, the person they trusted more than anyone else. In that moment, Mia realized that she couldn't back down now. There was no more room for doubt. She had made a promise to these kids, and she wasn't going to break it, no matter what challenges lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, the tension around the Zhang family grew. Mia found herself navigating the world of corporate power struggles and personal betrayals, trying to shield the children from the dangers that lurked behind the glossy facade of Edward's empire. She learned quickly that no amount of money could protect them from the darkness that seemed to follow their every step. But despite the danger, despite the uncertainty, Mia stayed strong. She had come into their lives as an outsider, but now she was their mother in every sense of the word. And when it mattered most, when the threats against them grew more intense, Mia found the strength to fight back. Edward, realizing the depth of Mia's commitment, finally saw her not just as a caretaker, but as an equal partner. Together, they took a stand, uniting against the powerful forces that sought to tear their family apart. In the end, it wasn't the wealth or the power that saved them. It was the love they shared, the bond they had forged through trust and perseverance. The story of Mia and the Zhang children became one of triumph, a testament to the power of love in the face of adversity. And while their future remained uncertain, one thing was clear: Mia had found her place in this complicated world. She had found her family. As the credits rolled, Mia stood with the children, a smile on her face, knowing that she had made the right choice. And in that moment, she realized that sometimes the most unexpected journeys lead to the most extraordinary destinations.